Hello, welcome back for lesson 4.3, our science seminar. Mrs. Demeyers here, and happy Monday to you. I hope you had a good weekend. I love Mondays because I feel like it's a fresh start to the week. I can maybe set some goals or try something new, or it's like, I just love the feeling of newness. So to me, Mondays always represent new things. So let's go ahead and get started with our lesson. But before we do that, I want to encourage you to take a moment and have a little exercise in thankfulness. So what I'd encourage you to do, not right this moment, but maybe sometime today, that if you can, go for a walk and see if you can identify 5 things that you are grateful for, which exist within a 10-minute walk of your house. If you can't go outside of your house, your parents don't allow you to go that far, that's fine. Then just look around your house. Go ahead and write them down and then stick them on a Post-it note where you can see them. And so I want to take a moment and just share what a couple of my things that I'm thankful for that are they were right by my house. So the first thing I'm thankful for is my garden. This is how it looks right now. It's got a little bit some weeding I need to do. I need to get my cages around my tomatoes, but these are my tomatoes here. This is a nasturtium plant. These are some peppers. This is my lavender. And as you have probably learned if you've watched any of the screencasts, I always talk about the gardens. I love this time of year because it's all about gardening and growing vegetables, and that's just one of my favorite things to do. So I'm super, super thankful that I have a tiny little backyard to garden in. It's small, but at least I have something small to garden in. So another thing I'm thankful for is this is right in the townhouse complex I live. And this is just a picture of all the diverse vegetation that we have. And when I walk out, I always see butterflies and bees, and usually there's hummingbirds out. And it just really makes me feel happy. Again, I like nature. I like being outside. And so this just gives me a feeling of peace and calm when I walk to the mailbox every day. Okay. A third thing I'm thankful for is my pool. Unfortunately, we cannot use our community pool right now. It's locked down because, got the whole social distancing and staying away from each other and COVID-19. So we can't use our pool right now, but I'm looking forward to the day, hopefully soon in the summertime, where I can jump in and swim some laps and just get outside and get in the pool and be refreshed by swimming. All right, this is a bottle brush tree, I think is the name of it, and it is right outside my door. So if I walk right out my front door, this is hanging above my head. And I love this tree. It makes a little bit of a mess, but one thing I love about it is there are always a ton of bees in it. And I love the sound of bees buzzing. So many times I'll just go outside and just stand under my tree and listen to the bees buzz because it reminds me of one of my favorite people. She actually passed away about 1.5 years ago, but she was a beekeeper, among other things. And I'd say she was kind of a mentor to me. She kind of helped in a lot of areas of my life. So going out, listening to the bees, it always reminds me of her. And Starbucks. Starbucks is within a 5-minute walk of my house, or it's about 10 minutes away. And my husband and I often go to Starbucks to get coffee, and that's kind of our date time. A lot of times in the afternoons, if I get home early or he gets off work early, we'll run over to Starbucks, grab a cup of coffee, and just kind of talk about our day. So it's just a nice way for us to spend some time together. So those are the 5 things I'm thankful for. Let's go ahead and get started with our lesson. So break out that Moon Jelly book that we are almost done with. And let's go ahead. So our learning intention for today is that all students are going to continue to organize their evidence, and we're going to build some new understanding regarding the decrease in the orange-bellied parrot population. Success criteria, after we're done today, that I can analyze my evidence and create a written scientific argument answering the question, what was the main cause of the decrease in the size of the orange-bellied parrot population? So we're actually going to analyze the evidence today, and then you are going to spend either Tuesday or Wednesday writing your scientific argument. Okay, first things first, let's read over our science seminar. And you're going to look over at page 115. And I want you to take a moment and read over the header and the first paragraph. You're going to read and underline that chapter question. And I want you to pick out 5 of the 11 concepts and act them out as if you were a mime. And then make sure to show your fabulous audience. So let's see here. I picked one of them, and I picked number 5. And number 5 says, organisms need to release energy from energy storage molecules in order to reproduce. So my pantomime was, so to me that meant organisms are releasing energy storage molecules, and then they're reproducing. Okay. So go ahead, find 5 of those concepts, act them out to your fabulous audience, and then make sure you read over the header, the first paragraph, and read and underline the chapter question. So go ahead, pause the video, and do that now. Okay, I wish I could have seen you mime some of the key concepts. It would have been so much fun just to see the creativity that you came up with. So now that we've gone and looked over page 115, let's go ahead and 116. Let's go ahead and look at page 117. This is our warm-up. And so you're going to go ahead and complete the warm-up and tell your fabulous audience. Now, I will let you know, if you did page 114 from last week, you should have the claim picked out. You should have your evidence card. So right now we're just adding, how does the evidence support your claim? So if you take a look down below, there's a couple of sentence starters right here if you need those. And go ahead, take a moment, pause this video, and go ahead and complete and state, how does the evidence support either claim 1 or claim 2? Remember, claim 1 is births increased or deaths, births decreased or deaths increased. So go ahead, pause the video and complete that now. Let's move on. At this point, you have decided which claim you are going to support. You are either supporting the claim that the births decreased, okay? Or you're supporting the claim that deaths increased, and that one of these was the cause of the decrease in the size of the orange-bellied parrot population. Now, which claim you support is totally up to you. You just have to use the evidence to back up your claim. And so remember, we have our evidence cards sorted. So you should have them sorted from the last lesson we did. If you don't have that piece of paper handy, you can go ahead and get it out now. If you wrote on your cards, I actually wrote on my cards. Where are my cards? Here we go. So I had a couple of them, and I just wrote at the top. This one, this one supported claim 1 that the births decreased. This would have been the sparrowhawks. So you can write right on top of your cards if you want. And remember, there's that evidence card that it's up to you what you do with that evidence card. Okay, so you should have your claim picked out. You should have your cards sorted. And we're going to take a look at our scientific sentence starter. So go ahead and flip over to page 118 in your Moon Jelly workbook. And this is how we are going to start creating our scientific argument, is by using these sentence starters. So in order to describe our evidence, we're going to say phrases like, the evidence that supports my claim is. Okay, so if you were supporting claim 1, you could say, the evidence that supports my claim is evidence card E, the sparrowhawks. Okay. Another sentence starter you can use is my first piece of evidence. Another one is another piece of evidence. So again, if I was supporting claim 1, I could say another piece of evidence that supports claim 1 is evidence card D, the sparrows. And then also we're going to want to make sure that we describe what our evidence is showing. And then as you describe how evidence supports a claim, you can use these sentence starters here. So for example, if I was looking at my sparrowhawk card, this one right here, this is evidence card E. I could say, based on the evidence, I conclude that the population decreased over 50 years, because that's what the evidence card says. And in addition, this caused the sparrow population to increase, which is supported by evidence card D. So basically, we're going to use our sentence starters as a way to describe how this evidence supports the claim. So I would should take it a step further and say that evidence card E, based on the evidence, I conclude that births decreased because the sparrow population increased, and that could have caused the button grass population to decrease, which is the resource population for the orange-bellied parrots. And this would mean the orange-bellied parrots had less food, or had less energy storage molecules to gather, and therefore their births could have decreased. See how I kind of wove all that together? And then when we go to the section of addressing an alternate claim, we're going to say claim X is stronger than claim Y. So we could say that claim 1, births decreased, is stronger than claim 2, that the deaths increased, because, and after that because, you want to make sure you insert a piece of evidence. So you can't just say, well, because I think so. No. We're scientists here, so we have to make sure that we have some evidence to back up what we're saying, okay? So now let's go over page 118 and see how we're going to get ready for our scientific argument. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to prepare your scientific argument, and I want you to choose 2 pieces of evidence that support your claim and write down 2 sentences on a piece of paper using the sentence starters in the column that says describing evidence. So for example, if you're supporting claim 1, you're going to make sure that you have evidence that supports claim 1, and you are going to use these sentence starters here and talk about the evidence that supports your claim. Okay, so remember, 2 sentences that talk about the evidence that supports your claim. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to write down 2 more sentences, and you're going to describe how or why this evidence supports your claim. So again, we're still talking about evidence that supports your claim. The first thing you're doing is you're basically describing it. And then the second thing you're doing is writing 2 more sentences that discuss how it supports your claim. Thirdly, you're going to pick 2 different pieces of evidence that maybe do or maybe don't support your claim, and you're going to talk about them in 2 sentences. So, and then here, you're going to go ahead and use the alternate sentence starter. So these guys right here that talk about addressing an alternate claim. So it's probably going to be easiest if you talk about evidence or think about evidence that supports the other side of the claim or doesn't necessarily support, you want to think about evidence that you want to show how your evidence supports your claim and not the other claim. And you can reference other pieces of evidence. For example, let's say we could say that maybe a piece of evidence such as, finding it on my desk right here, our button grass. Okay, so if I wanted to talk about the button grass, I could say that this doesn't support my claim that the birth rate decreased. And the reason it doesn't support my claim is because maybe it's a piece of weak evidence because there's only 1 sample location. So that's how I could use it. Now, once you have your 6 sentences, so you have 2 up here, 2 here, and 2 here, you're going to go ahead and talk about this evidence out loud with your fabulous audience. So go ahead, take a moment, write down a total of 6 sentences, okay? And then tell your fabulous audience. So go ahead and pause the video and do that now. All right, now that you have the start to your scientific argument, I want to invite you to take a moment and watch what Mr. Vandergriff, Mrs. Reynolds, Mr. Cranach, and myself put together. So we actually took time and we created what a scientific seminar would look like for you. And so I'd like you to take a moment and watch the video. And then as you're watching, go ahead and look at page 124. In fact, flip to your Moon Jelly booklet right now to page 124. And in here, it talks about science seminar observations. And there's a checklist there to where you can listen, actively listen, and you can hear when one of us uses evidence to support a claim, when you hear a student respectfully disagree with someone else's thinking. So what I want you to do is watch the video, and as you're watching, be watching for these things on page 124. Be listening to if we explain how our evidence is connected to our claims. Be listening for if we talk about the quality of evidence. And then if you hear those things, check off the boxes on the right-hand side. And then also make sure you write down maybe an idea that you have or a point that you don't agree with, and think about how you would respond to our claims and to our arguments and what we do. In fact, feel free, talk back to your phone screen, talk back to your computer screen, and use those scientific evidence sentence starters in order to do that. So you can find that video. It's right on the webpage, the 7th grade science webpage, and it's right next to this video. So it should have a little thing right here that says science seminar, or I'll make sure to indicate that it says science seminar right next to it. And watch that video. Fill out page 124 as you do, and then mission accomplished. That is it for today. So I will see you tomorrow with the rest of lesson 4.3. We will be writing our argument at that point. So some of the work you did today and the video you watched is going to help you to write that argument for tomorrow, okay? Have a great rest of your day. Bye.